most of the challenges that we hear in this industry, at least what people come to us to talk about, is data fragmentation, doing more with what you got, and task overload. I'd say in a market where volatility is normal and unpredictability is probably the only thing you can guarantee now, creative thinking and maintaining momentum is what's going to help you embrace that challenge as an opportunity. Now, people aren't looking for another piece of technology, they're looking for an outcome. So I want to show you what's in store for our customers in the industry as we look ahead into the future. Like Ann said, I'm Chirs Arredondo, co-founder and VP of Customer Success here at Cargo Chief. So let's take this example here. You got Houston to Atlanta. You probably have a carrier that runs this lane 2 to 3 times a week. The issue is a lot of that information is usually captured in spreadsheets or sticky notes somewhere outside of your TMS and in a place that's also not working with your data. The next thing that you get is a new load, in this case Atlanta to Lakeland. So what do you do? That same carrier that runs your Houston to Atlanta probably also runs your Atlanta to Chicago, Houston to Nashville to somebody else, or in this case, possibly Atlanta to Lakeland. So as these carriers start to book more freight in the entire network, rather than you guys having to shoulder all that work and compile all these spreadsheets, C4 is going to take all this data for you and aggregate it onto this carrier profile. What that gives you is a chance to rebook your carriers again, drive that carrier reuse, and have better options to easily procure and manage that entire process. So when we take a step back and look at the traditional booking process, if you want to call it, there's probably 15 more steps that aren't listed up here. But typically what happens is that load gets built in your TMS. The next thing when we look at the coverage process, it's usually somebody's going in, looking in their TMS, finding those historical carriers in their TMS, or they're going to their spreadsheet, digging through the trash for their sticky notes or wherever they kept that information at. The next thing that happens is they're going to call. They're going to call those carriers, email all those carriers. When those guys don't pick up, or whatever's in their head, those top 2 to 3 carriers, when they can't haul that freight, load boards come in. Sometimes, or too often, that can be the first channel for capacity, which isn't bad. It's just, how do you drive carrier reuse at the same time? My favorite part when I was booking freight, calling those carriers. The everywhere carrier that is offer load to Florida, and they're like, nah, dude, I want more miles. At the end of the day, when all that time gets into that, and you find finally the point of a price point that works for both of you, you go through the packet, you go and vet that carrier, and for whatever reason that carrier's unqualified, and boom, all that time wasted. 60 times, over and over again, every day, every month. When we simplify that process, and now we're just taking the load straight from your TMS without somebody having to go somewhere and do things, take that action, the load gets built, C4 is gonna quickly identify that rapid capacity, getting you guys closer to that point of negotiation without all the legwork. Then you book. That's the golden process there. So for our customers that are out there, saw a few of you guys, good to see y'all. We have a feature called projects. So what we're introducing now, looking ahead, is project waterfalls. What this is gonna help you do is group and prioritize your key carriers. Typically those top, your Houston to Atlanta carrier that runs this lane all the time, great go-to. But what happens if he's not available? You can now set some time cadences to where that load will trigger out to that first carrier. Maybe it's a mod transport for whatever rate. They sort of get that first right of refusal. So now when you're talking to your carriers and saying like, hey, I want to take this relationship to something where I'm going to offer you this first every single time. It starts to build on that bond and create a strong relationship. If that guy's not available, it goes down to the next group. Let's call it 10 minutes, 15 minutes later. If nobody there replies or engages, goes on to the rest of the group. So what we were doing with our customers is taking that traditional digital freight matching, what has occurred over the last 2 to 3 years, and now we're embedding it into your workflow, reducing all the time it takes to cover your freight. Another thing that we're introducing is AI applied options. The first phase of our sort of journey here at Cargo Chief and C4 was driving carrier engagement. Now what we got is a ton of replies, usually about half your freight. So if you're doing 2,000 loads a month, you're gonna have at least 50% of that, 1,000 replies coming to you with options from your carrier base. Now what we're doing next is a lot of those carriers love to pick up the phone, they love to shoot a quick email. It takes a lot of time to process that information. So when we take that data from the email and the carrier says, yes, I can take the load, or hey, I can do it for $2,000, or maybe Monday. Now that information is going to get pushed right to your TMS, reducing the time it takes to weed through all those emails. Last thing that we're introducing is actually an integration with green screens. For those C4 users that are here, we do have our own rating engine, but the thing that I like about green screens is they go very far into your analytics and your own data to help you with that faster decision. And for us, the way that we look at rates is really cutting down the time it takes to figure out what rate somebody's gonna go offer a carrier. We have a lot of customers that came to us before C4, they were spending hours a person just putting in their ranges for what they think that load should go for in the planning comments. Hours a day, all gone, now that they can sort of use an integration between the two C4 rates and green screens, offering that control for you guys, giving your carriers a place to start. Quick snapshot at some of the results that our customers see is there's your first side of the pipeline there with 50% engagement, going down to 30% more carrier options than what they would have had traditionally. Now, when you take those two, a quarter of your freight getting booked in less than 15 minutes, but also another 2% increase in margin, I don't know too many people who don't want more time and money back in their pocket. Just hear it from Adam here. More loads booked at a faster rate each week. Here's a short list of the TMSs that we integrate with. I know a couple of you guys are out here that have a few kiosks out there, but we've also got another TMS that we're adding, Turbo. So anybody that's on Turbo, work with us, see how we can talk about this inclusive experience to help you guys uncover more options and embrace that challenge as an opportunity. That's it. I didn't get the timer, did I? No shot?